to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go!
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod, and the first of two parts reviewing Star Wars Tales of the Underworld, which this week we have our co-host Blake with us, and we have Darian as well, and this is the Asajj Ventress story arc, which a lot of people have been sort of longing for a little while, ever since she made her reappearance in Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 3. So we're going to break down the stories and spoilers ahead for anyone who has not seen this story arc yet. It's on Disney Plus right now. You can catch it in under an hour. It's actually quite short. So we're going to take a look at this, and then next week we'll dive into Cad Bane. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Another happy landing.
All right, welcome back, Blake.
Hello there. Yes, good to be back.
Hello. And
Something tells me you're gonna really enjoy this one.
yeah. Also, welcome back, Darian.
Chut, Josh and Blake.
Chut.
Chut.
All right, so forgive me if I seem a little tired. I feel like I've got just less energy today in general, but
It's probably because we were playing Star Wars Outer Rim till like after 1 a.m. last night.
yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I didn't think of that. And then I went to work after that. By the
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
All right, so we've been anticipating talking about this for a little while because ever since Ventress made her return in Star Wars: The Bad Batch, I feel like this conversation has kind of come up every now and again. You know, with like
At least between people who had read the novel, right?
yeah.
What's the Ahsoka novel called now?
Oh,
Dark Disciple?
the Ventress and Quinlan Vos Clone Wars novel. Yeah, Dark Disciple.
Yeah, okay.
So just a little bit of backstory for everybody. Ventress did die a long time ago in the Clone Wars when the Clone Wars was originally canceled. Back when Disney bought Lucasfilm, they canceled everything on the slate and wiped it clean and kept nothing canon except Clone Wars and the 6 George Lucas movies. That's pretty much how things started off, and a lot of people were pretty upset about that. But it paved the way for new stories, and the following a show that we got was Star Wars Rebels. And in the meantime, the remaining 2.5 seasons of Star Wars: The Clone Wars that were not created, and I say 2.5 because there was still a remaining half to season 6, as well as season 7 and 8 that they had finished scripts for, and a number of them actually had audio already recorded. All of these episodes, which account for probably between 40 to 45 or so stories, were kind of mysterious to a lot of people. The last story arc that we had was from the half season that got dumped on Netflix at one point and then released on Blu-ray. It was called Star Wars: The Clone Wars: The Lost Missions, ended off with a Yoda arc, which was very cool, but that was the last that we had, and then it was a mystery as to where some of these characters ended up and what their fate was.
That was a time jump, wasn't it? Like from the end of the last season to that one?
Yeah. So season 6 was like still, there's 2.5 seasons of Clone Wars that we didn't have. So like what happens to all these characters that don't show up in Revenge of the Sith, right?
Yeah, but then for like the bonus season, the half season they released, There's a time jump to be
Oh
basically
yeah,
around the time of
yeah.
Vengeance.
That's because the now what we have. So I'll get to that. What happened was when the Clone Wars was canceled, Lucasfilm said, you know what, we have a number of these stories very, very close to completion. So let's do something called the Clone Wars Legacy Project. So the Clone Wars Legacy Project adapted a number of the story arcs that they had already kind of next in line to go out the door. And those were either released as proxy animation episodes or adapted story material. So one of the proxy animation story arcs that they released and then later finished for the new Clone Wars Season 7 on Disney Plus was the Bad Batch story arc from the Clone Wars. So that was 4 episodes there. I believe it was 4. There was also a proxy animation set of 4 episodes called the Crystal Crisis on Utapau arc that featured Obi-Wan and Anakin on a kind of a Brotherhood style adventure.
And I think
that was not adapted later into a finished episode. Those were just proxy animation.
Was that one with the giant kyber crystal?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah, that is. Yeah. So that was a cool story arc, but you could only catch that on the bonus features of the Season 6 Blu-ray as well as on YouTube. And they were on StarWars.com until they were removed for some strange, weird reason. So that was that. That was the watchable stuff. Then they released a comic book called Son of Dathomir, which adapted 4 episodes of what would have bridged the gap of Darth Maul's story between where he was captured in Season 5 by Palpatine to where he shows up in Season 7 when he's ruling Mandalore. There's a bit of a missing link there. So that's the Dark Horse comic book. That was the last thing that Dark Horse did before it went to Marvel. Then they released a novel called Dark Disciple, which was an adaptation of 8 Clone Wars episodes about Ventress and Quinlan Vos and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Count Dooku. And it was this whole storyline of the Jedi trying to assassinate Dooku. So they send Quinlan Vos to do it. They also pair him up with Ventress, who kind of aids him in the strategies and also gripping the dark side, of the nature of the dark side, which would aid him in battle against Dooku and aid him on the mission. They end up falling in love, and the story ends with Ventress's redemption, her throwing herself in front of Quinlan Vos while this fight is going on between him and Dooku and everybody. And she gets a full face full of Force lightning and dies effectively from that. Dooku gets away, as we all know. And Obi-Wan and Quinlan take Ventress's body to Dathomir to lay her to rest with her sisters, because her connection to the witches of Dathomir is very strong at this point in the story. So a lot of the stuff that happens in these Clone Wars Legacy stories, they're all still canon. There's still a number of things that they did not adapt or did not translate later, and there's
like the Cad Bane Boba Fett story.
Exactly, yeah, like the Cad Bane Boba story. There's a number of others, and every Star Wars Celebration, I feel like they squeeze more out of Dave Filoni as to like what there would have been, right? But yeah, some of those stories that were in Season 8 did get adapted, of course. Season 7 eventually came out on Disney Plus. They sort of quote unquote finished the show with the Siege of Mandalore. That was always intended to be the end. And there was another story arc kind of like before that. And so we did sort of get a finale, and that tied things up, but it wasn't everything. And the Ventress storyline was one of the ones that still kind of ended up on an unfortunate chopping block. But the Dark Disciple novel is one of my favorite books I've ever read. Recommend anybody to go and get it and read it, because it's insanely amazing. I feel like that's probably the best way I can put this in context for kind of why this redemption is a thing. And in my opinion, up front, I'm not fond of it. I'm very not fond of bringing characters back from the dead. I don't care who it is. I don't care what they are. I've just never liked it. So I just wanted to go around before we start here and just see how you guys feel about bringing characters back.
You want to go first, Darian?
Well, I mean, it certainly helps us. Ventress never actually died, so it works for me.
If you didn't read the book.
Well, it's part of the lore, right?
No.
So, like, I mean, if you're ignoring the lore, then it's
But they actually show it at the beginning of this arc.
Yeah, it's like in the episode because it's canon, right? It's a canon event, so like they're acknowledging that this happened.
I know, but as I argued before, just putting her in the waters means that she was going to be revived anyways. We've seen the waters have crazy powers before, so she was only mostly dead before.
All right, what about you, Blake?
I'm gonna say the concept as a whole of bringing back characters I'm generally not on board with. Is something that I find just really takes away from the stakes.
Makes it cheesy.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I maybe get really bored of Marvel. Just
Yeah.
feels like everyone just comes back a few
Yeah.
issues later.
I feel like the weight of characters dying, it loses the value.
Yeah,
You know,
we need some Game of Thrones level of fatality.
It's something
Finality.
it's something I've always appreciated in the world of Harry Potter. Is it's a very hard line. You know, it's a very strict rule that J.K. Rowling follows. Is once you're gone, you are gone. You know, there is no coming back. And I think that was the emotional weight that Voldemort has over Harry, with the temptation that he could bring his parents back. And Harry really struggles with that, but he knows the truth. You know, he knows that, like, and Dumbledore says it later. He's like, you realize, like, there's no coming back from that. No magic on this planet can bring your parents back. That's just the sad truth, right? And there's something very emotionally, you know, and everyone can relate to that. And I feel like Star Wars, in a way, you know, when Obi-Wan dies in A New Hope and he turns into a Force ghost, you know, for the next film, it's like, okay, this is a special something, you know, and it's very rare when someone dies and comes back in a different form. And I think as Star Wars fans, we've all kind of accepted that, at least for some, there is a life after death.
That was a weird
right?
change, though. I feel like when you went from the original trilogy to the prequels, when suddenly Force ghosts weren't a thing yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I don't know. I think this all started, I think, when they started doing things like a number of characters have come back. So Cad Bane is one of those characters, of course. Book of Boba Fett. They brought him back after a story arc in Clone Wars, which would have seen his demise and left Boba as the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy, right? So that storyline has now changed because they decided to kind of retroactively change it, since no one knew about it.
Yeah, it wasn't released as canon.
Yeah, it wasn't really released either, that story arc. So that's something that they could kind of overwrite. Palpatine coming back, nobody likes it. I guess Darth Maul's return, it's like
You could argue that one.
it's a split thing, you know? Like, I feel like that one had so much buildup and so much effort put into the return of that character through the many seasons of the Clone Wars that I feel like it kind of worked in a way.
One farther than that is because the Dark Horse comics had kind of already
in the
set it
expanded
up.
universe. Yeah.
Because that was made as non-canon, but it got the idea kind of into the psyche of Star Wars.
Exactly. Who else came back other than Ventress?
Ahsoka, technically, right?
Well, she never died, so
Yeah, but we were left to believe she did, but I guess that doesn't count.
no, I wouldn't count that one. I'm sure there's others that I can't think about, but which one? One of them dies, Kylo or Rey. oh
I
yeah,
think it's Rey.
right?
And Kylo brings him
Yeah,
back and
of
then
course.
kills himself.
Yeah, they'd like trade lives like 3 times over.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. All right. So yeah. Anyways, bring back characters. I'm not a fan. You know, some people like it, some people hate it. I'm one of those people that hates it. So what
Except for Mace
love.
Windu, that'll be fine.
Yeah. So this episode, I feel like started off really well, you know, and you might be like, what the heck? If he hates resurrections, like why say that, right? And then I feel like I just kind of slowly lost interest as it went on. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through episode by episode, and I'm gonna read the story recap. We're just gonna kind of point out things, say what we like, and then give it a pile of points of poodoo. So.
Nice and simple.
Yeah, nice and simple. Okay, so this episode is called A Way Forward. All of these episodes released on May 4th, 2025, all on the same day. Resurrection and New Life. On Dathomir, Jedi Masters Obi-Wan Kenobi and Quinlan Vos lay Asajj Ventress's body to rest in a pool. After they depart, Mother Talzin's spirit offers the deceased Ventress a choice: remain dead or return to life at the cost of her heart's desire. Ventress chooses life and emerges from the temple. Later, she is seen working as a security guard in a desert town spaceport. When a Rodian threatens the ticket agent, Court, Ventress efficiently disarms him, prompting Court to note her skills and suggest a different career, though Ventress prefers her current unassuming role. Ventress encounters a young Jedi fugitive, Lyko Strata, attempting to buy passage. When he tries a mind trick on Court, Ventress intervenes. Stormtroopers arrive searching for Lyko, and Ventress uses a mind trick to misdirect them, but Court reveals Lyko's hiding spot. Ventress and Lyko are forced to fight the Stormtroopers, revealing their Force abilities. While fleeing, Lyko mentions that the Hidden Path, an organization that helps Force sensitives escape. He reveals that it was established by Quinlan Vos. This news significantly interests Ventress. As they attempt to board a departing starship, they are confronted by a menacing Inquisitor. Ventress duels the Inquisitor to allow Lyko to escape. The Inquisitor, aware of her past, gains the upper hand. However, Lyko intervenes, stabbing the Inquisitor from behind, and helps Ventress onto the departing ship. Once safe, Lyko asks who she is. She reveals her past as a Separatist commander of Count Dooku's assassin, leaving Lyko with a worried expression. So that's the first episode. Maybe let's start with you, Darian. What did you think in a nutshell of this episode?
I thought it was a good way to draw Ventress into the story. I kind of don't want to see her running around with even more Jedi escaping Order 66. It's just so overdone at this point. But yeah, it was definitely a good point and like showed that she's still using her powers actively.
Nice. All right. And Blake?
I will say, I'm just going to lead too much into the next episode, but I really like that we're finally seeing a use of the fact that Quinlan Vos was involved in creating the path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I know that was something we were very excited about when we first discovered that.
That he was alive?
Yeah. Or
back in Obi-Wan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it just makes so much sense that if they're going to, since they brought back Ventress, that they would do something with that to connect to, considering that their love story in the Dark Disciple novel.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy to see that is the case. I'm not so sure about, I think you and I talked about this after we had watched the first episode. The whole deal around her, if she comes back to life, she has to like give up like her ambition. And we kind of tied that. We're trying to
make sense of that,
because they don't make it too obvious, because that could refer to her drive to be kind of like a someone of importance in the galaxy, such as she was under Dooku. She already kind of lost some of that through the later seasons of Clone Wars. So then, is that more referring to her relationship with Quinlan, because he would have still been alive, because she spent all that time not looking for him? So I feel like that's the most likely thing.
Yeah.
I kind of felt it was.
Yeah. I mean, just to wrap things up before you finish there. I guess I'm just curious. Like, did you find that this episode was the standout for you out of the three?
I don't know.
No.
Too busy just trying to pay attention to really compare them on, to be honest.
Yeah. Darian says no.
I felt it was entirely just trying to get us into the story episode. And then the second episode is where the real meat of the whole arc is.
Right.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. But the one thing that they tied it so nicely to the book, I do find very good,
See,
which I like.
That's where I enjoyed, I guess that's where I thought it was good, and then it kind of just went downhill from there because
Just like 3 minutes in.
yeah, because I feel like the nod of the head to the lore, to the story that we're all familiar with, is just like, okay, that's nice, right? It's not like they just ignored it because it didn't happen on a screen, right? Like, and I think that's always been important to Star Wars fans. The reality that the lore exists outside of the screen, right? And that's always been important because so many people had such a big problem when Disney came in with the axe and separated the expanded universe off from the movies. Like, why would people be upset if it wasn't important, right? So it's nice to see them taking this seriously, that they can look at the literature and what they're referring to. They made such a big deal about doing a canon unified story. So it's like, you know what? It's nice to see them actually,
Acknowledging that.
doing that. Yeah, because I feel like more often than not, we're actually pointing out all the times that they have to break that continuity for whatever reason, right? And here they are literally adapting a scene out of the novel, and as to the best of their ability, and it was I think played off incredibly well for the perspective of the audience is seeing what's happening through Ventress's story. So we might not get the exact same, word for word, scene for scene, or shot for shot, story that we had in the novel, but it was incredibly close, like very, very incredibly close, in a way that was like way more close than the Mon Mothma speech stuff that we talked about in the Andor Rebels or whatever have you, But I thought, okay, cool, The whole spell with her heart's desires being lost, I thought was really weird. I just could not get on board with that. The novel really put emphasis on her redemption being tied to the love that she has for this character.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was kind of gobsmacked that they decided to chop that out of all the things and not revisit it at all in this story arc.
Well, that might be the part that they had to change the canon of.
That's
because
the thing, right?
When we see her later in Bad Batch,
Yeah.
there's just no sign of Quinlan at all.
Yeah.
So you're left wondering why. There's not even a mention of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally, right? So like I'm just a little miffed at that part.
Me too. Like, and this is go through all three of them. I wish Quinlan was involved.
I do too.
And then they could have set it up for they have to part ways, whatever. It's just I don't really appreciate the way they went about it.
No, me neither.
I would have appreciated seeing them together on screen.
Yeah, me too. I enjoyed the character of Court. I didn't think he was that annoying, but I think what really bothered me was that he's the one that killed the Inquisitor. I was like, dude,
Are we being annoyed at that?
this is okay. So I don't know how many people know about Inquisitors out there, but they're all ex-Jedi. Every single one of them. They're corrupted Jedi. This is something we learned from the Rise of the Red Blade novel, the Vader comic book series. The Inquisitors are all Jedi who were once either temple guards or knights or something. There's
a handful of Padawans, I think.
Yeah, that too. Fell to the dark side and this and that. That is why that this Inquisitor knows who Ventress is. He recognizes her because she was the commander in the droid army.
Sith assassin, yeah.
And a Sith assassin, yeah. So, everyone knows who Ventress is, really. And the only person that wouldn't know is a kid that was way too young to be on the war front.
Right. He's
which
too
is
busy
Court, right?
trying to survive Anakin.
Yeah. So I think what I hated about this was that like a nobody, like a youngling, like, or a Padawan barely, like Court, managed to take out the Inquisitor in such a weird way when Ventress should have, like, she was once upon a time betrayed by Dooku because Palpatine said to him, she's getting way too powerful to continue being allies with her. So, like, how is it that some nobody Inquisitor can, like, best her in a duel when she's, like, really skilled? Like, she has gone toe-to-toe with Anakin and Obi-Wan multiple times. She has versed off against
Dooku. Mm-hmm.
Ahsoka. I mean, like she's gone against so many people.
Trying to think. What did she? Asajj
Luminara Unduli and Barriss Offee. I'm pretty sure.
Was there a duel between her, Dooku, Asajj, and
yes, and Savage
Maul?
Opress?
And Maul?
No.
All the ones? Oh, Maul was there?
Yes, actually, sorry. Yeah, there was a duel between her, Obi-Wan, Maul, and Savage Opress.
Yeah, I guess.
There was also a duel between her and Savage Opress and Dooku.
Yeah, because there's a whole thing where Maul tricked her into thinking that Savage was her apprentice, right?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so many things, right? So many times that she is like, we're talking A tier level stuff. She's been trained by Dooku, who is a master swordsman. Okay, how is it that some Inquisitor bests her in a duel? I just could not wrap my head around it.
The only thing I could think of was if it is tied to that, lose her heart's desire, and part of that is to be someone who's like useful, because you kind of see at the beginning after that intro that she is content to just kind of take the easiest job and just not really do anything.
Yeah.
So if maybe they're trying to show then she's just really out of practice, but
if that is the case,
I don't know
that
if
is
the
an
time jump is.
insanely lame way to do it. Like that's just my opinion, but like I thought
why-
that was like crazy weird,
That's why the heart desires thing just they left it so like
vague.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, Darian, what do you think about all this?
Well, I took the heart's desire as Ventress has always been a very passionate Sith. She's more passionate than pretty much any other Sith we've ever seen. So, more or less, she had to give up her nature and stop being a major player in the galaxy. That's kind of what I took out of that scene.
What did you think about the Inquisitor stuff?
It was kind of lame.
Okay, yeah. I'm okay. So I'm not alone in that then. You know how I think it should have gone is she should have just like whooped his ass. Like that's what I think. I think like Ventress should have just totally shown off to this kid who she is, and maybe he would have recognized her or something based on her viciousness in the battle or something like that, right? And then maybe it jogs a memory or something. I don't know, just like something like that. It would have been really cool to see Ventress just like be good.
Well,
you know?
I feel like they were trying to force the fact that because he saved her, she now has an obligation to help him.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was like hoping to avoid, because she at this point is a changed person, right? Like we know this from the stories that have come before. She's even helped Obi-Wan escape Maul and Savage Opress when she was hunting down Savage Opress as a bounty. You know, she didn't need to do that. She just kind of did it because she respects Obi-Wan and stuff like that. But like, I feel like from that point onwards, she has been a redeemed person. Like she's not a villain anymore. And she sympathizes for this kid, right? Like she kind of feels almost guilty out of all of the Jedi that she may have killed, and then falls in love with one. I feel like it is just naturally kind of there, the motivation to help this kid anyways, you know? And she was helping him already. She was helping him already even before he stabbed that Inquisitor in the back.
True, but it seemed like she was going to just like point him in the direction basically and just go back and kind of disappear.
Yeah, well, she was. And then the ship takes off, right? So like, I feel like that could have all still played out the same way.
Yeah.
But then she like gets up and then finishes the battle properly. You know, and it's like, okay, yeah. Right. And then we could have just kept going. And it's like, okay, would have bought it. You know, it's like the kid going through the back like that. First of all, that's like a super not Jedi way to kill somebody. That's something Ventress would do.
That's true.
Like not a Jedi kid, like who's super nice. Yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like it's a Jedi thing, right? Like they even brought this up in the Acolyte. Like you can't kill an unarmed. Well, I mean, Anakin says it about, you know, I shouldn't have done that. It's not the Jedi way. Like
right,
you can't kill an unarmed person, no matter how dangerous they are.
The Inquisitor was armed though,
and well, he wasn't even aware of of him behind him, right? Like it was just like out of the blue, kind of like just through the back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was surprised. Super weird.
Should we call it like soloed?
Yeah, like
Han soloed.
like a non-Jedi way to do it, right? Is what I mean. And it's just like, man, like I don't know how I feel about all that. It's like I feel like they just wanted to make the kid look cool, so they gave him the kill. But it made Ventress look really terrible.
Yeah, it did.
Anyways, I love the Quinlan stuff, the hidden path connection to Obi-Wan Kenobi show. You know, really good nod of the head. I feel like I feel like the other 2 episodes should have had more to do with that, and yet we kind of strayed away a little bit. But we got there in the end, and then it just didn't go the way I expected. I think that's everything for this episode. If we want to give some top Pablo points of
I was wondering, maybe we should save the points for all 3 till the end.
Oh yeah, okay, sure, let's do that. But like Darian said, a lot of the meat is kind of in the episode 2 here. So, okay, the next one is called Friends. Asajj Ventress and the Jedi fugitive Lyko arrive in a bustling city. Lyko is wary of Ventress, given her past opposing side in the war, but she insists that she's the best option for his escape. Ventress reveals she's seeking Quinlan Vos and plans to get information from a bounty hunter acquaintance of hers. Their arrival is marked by a street fight involving bounty hunters Latz Razi and the droid C-21 High Singer. Ventress intervenes, impressing Razi. Ventress agrees to help Razi with a job in exchange for information on the hidden path, and Lyko joins their reluctant crew. Razi enlists Ventress and Lyko to steal an Imperial shield relay unit. Lyko's technical knowledge exposes him as a Jedi to Razi, who privately offers him help to reach the path, warning him against Ventress. Meanwhile, Ventress advises Lyko to be ruthless. During the heist at an Imperial shipyard, Highsinger sabotages equipment while Ventress and Lyko infiltrate a generator dome. They are soon discovered by stormtroopers, and during a chaotic escape, Lyko retrieves the shield relay unit. As they board Razi's ship, Razi betrays Ventress, ordering Highsinger to shoot her and planning to sell Lyko. Ventress, however, manages to cling to the ship, reboard, and overpower Highsinger and Razi in the cockpit. She forces Razi to jump to hyperspace and provide the coordinates to the hidden path, which Razi gives to Lyko on a data card. Dropped at a spaceport, Lyko agrees to share the information with Ventress, now trusting her. Blake, what did you think of this one?
This one was definitely the flashiest, most fun episode. Like, unquestionably. And I really liked the seeing all the Star Destroyers being constructed, the moving the shield generators to put them on. I thought that was super cool. And then you get they're trying to escape inside, and the generator gets loose and just like inside a giant golf ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in here. I think if you're watched Clone Wars, it's not really any new morals. Don't trust anyone in the underworld. Can't trust anyone.
Yeah.
But as far as like progressing the story, it was they needed a thing, and then they got it.
Right.
But it was definitely a lot of fun.
All right, Darian, what'd you think about this one?
Reminded me very much of Utapau, the way they had the Star Destroyers lit up and everything. So I liked the callbacks to the Clone Wars. It was interesting that the whole time the bounty hunters are trying to convince the baby Jedi to not trust Ventress, but, she is the one that ends up being the most trustworthy at the end, because they're just like, well, we failed this mission, let's betray her and steal the Jedi kid.
Very true. But I think that also speaks to kind of her redemption that we start to see take place towards the end of Clone Wars. Because a lot of people, by people I mean characters in universe, who would have worked with Ventress before, they would have seen the can't trust version. I feel like
absolutely.
She's definitely become a lot more honorable since leaving the Separatists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what
There's also
she's kind of anti-villained herself, right? Like she's like kind of become a redeemed person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say entirely redeemed. She's kind of rides the in between, and I like that. I don't want to see Ventress become a true Jedi. But
No, I don't think
No.
she'll.
One thing
I
I-
don't think she'll ever be a Jedi. No,
She's like a Wolverine character.
Yeah. I you know,
Anti-hero.
the way I look at her is like she has kind of become a bit like just
Balin Skull.
No, not even like because
I feel like
Balin
he's
Skull aligns with him with villains, right? Like
Yeah.
like Ventress would never at this point in her life align herself with a villain. Like
I kind of see her as like the slightly better version of what he's trying to do. He's trying to be like the Bendu, but he's gone slightly dark side.
It's an interesting contrast to compare them that way.
Yeah, like I've always perceived Balin as a villain, not a Jedi who is committed to the Sith religion, but as a Jedi who has fallen to the dark side. And Ventress, I feel like at this point, I would nearly consider her a hero. I would never consider her a Jedi, no, but I would definitely consider her a like a hero-esque character now after all of the events that have transpired, especially through her helping Obi-Wan and Quinlan on the mission to kill Dooku and then giving her life for Quinlan Vos, you know? There was a lot that transpired in that book that really kind of brought her out of the very gray area that she was in when we last saw her in season 5.
As a bounty hunter, yeah.
As a bounty hunter, yeah. Which the last time we saw her technically in the show was when she popped up for a small cameo in the Ahsoka bombing arc.
Yeah, that's what I remember her from
And
too.
Anakin confronted her on the streets of Coruscant to question her about her intentions, right? Because she was being framed by Barriss Offee. And Barriss took Ventress out. And she said, even Ventress says, like, only a Jedi could, like, sneak up on me and take me out. And she has my lightsabers and my helmet and stuff like that. So Anakin does more investigating, and you know, we don't actually see Ventress again after that. But I thought that was like, since then onwards through the rest of the appearances that she did have, I feel like she's kind of like brought herself back. And with the yellow lightsaber, it's very symbolic. The yellow lightsaber is very symbolic that she is now kind of graduated above this affiliation for the dark side.
Well, that's part of why I was comparing her to Balin, is because Balin and Hati have orange lightsabers, right?
Yeah, they're almost like, I think it's only because they don't want to confuse people with them not being Sith.
Probably, but still like bad guys.
But they're still definitely like dark side villains in every way. I mean, like they murdered those like rebel, you know, troops on that ship.
Yeah.
They're working with ex-Empire people. They're working with witches. They're
They'd be easily confused.
yeah.
You could argue also for that is because it's a Sith practice to bleach your crystal to make it red in the first place. So they're probably not doing that because they're not Sith.
Also, Balin seeks power. That is his ultimate goal. Is he is like seeking power on what's that planet called?
The one that's in the other universe.
Yeah, Pandora or whatever.
Well, but he's seeking power to stop the cycle of Sith versus Jedi taking over the universe.
He is, but he is going about it like Anakin would. Like Anakin is a Sith Lord because all he was trying to do is save his wife from certain death, right? Like you could look at it through that lens, but it's like, okay, yeah, but you just killed all these innocent people to do it. So you're still a villain,
I absolutely
right? Yeah.
I absolutely agree that he is deluded. There's no question there, but he considers himself neutral. That's
He
the
does.
thing.
He does, yeah. I would definitely consider
So
him
did
a villain.
Anakin, though.
Yeah, so does Anakin. Anakin's like, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
That's right.
Like, I would definitely consider Balin more villain than Ventress.
Well, that's the problem. People don't agree.
Yeah.
Well, someone should make them.
Someone should make them. So good.
I also like that in this episode we got some nods to Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? Because the whole running through the shield generator and on top of it and everything, that's totally out of the...
Or like
big,
the intro Raiders.
Oh, man, so good.
Yeah.
So good. The action in this episode, like you say, Blake, was spot on. You know,
It
was
felt like I was watching Clone Wars again.
Yeah, it did. It did. I really appreciated this episode for that. And I think I remember you saying while we were watching it, the first one, that is, you really miss Clone Wars because of all the diverse stories that we had. Like
Yeah.
I loved that about Clone Wars so much that I've missed ever since Clone Wars, because Rebels, Bad Batch, Resistance, all of the shows that we've had so far have
It's just a really tight cast.
It's
So
a
you're
yeah.
limited to the type of stories you can tell.
Yeah, it's a tight cast. It's 20 episodes, the same group. It's like, man, like I loved Clone Wars because we had an arc about these people and then an arc about those people. And you know, it
Yeah,
told
like-
the story from multiple perspectives. That's what I
'cause
loved about it.
Clone Wars is really unique in that because it took place over a whole war.
Yeah.
And so there's so many different things going on over a war.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, looks like you could argue they could have tried to do that with Rebels, but they never really did.
Right.
Like I've loved to see arcs, or sorry, I'm getting a little. I would have loved stuff there too, but I would love to have seen Stormtrooper Bad Batch, excuse me, of like Rex episodes.
Oh, totally. And when they sent him off on his own way, 100%, I thought that's what was going to happen.
That's what I thought too, and they never did it.
I know, I was so annoyed about that. Like one of the coolest things about season 1 of Clone Wars is to get one random episode of like Kit Fisto going into Grievous's lair, and like his
With his apprentice,
his Padawan
Yeah.
dies, and it's like, man, like what a cool 20 minutes, you know? Like that was awesome. We need more of that.
just like random Monster of the Week episodes.
Just yeah, I don't know, cool stuff, right? Yeah.
Sorry, Jared, you're saying
Yeah,
something.
you saying something?
I feel that Rebels was meant to be all about the family camaraderie of like a chosen family. So you don't really have the opportunity there to expand into a larger story. Whereas Clone Wars was so directionless in so many ways, but still worked as a story. I'm a huge fan of Clone Wars. It's my favorite, but it's not the like really full of heart series. It taught us a lot of lessons that I thought Star Wars was unique to being able to teach.
Yeah, you know, you got a good point. Rebels, that was something that I really grew to appreciate about Rebels, was like the family dynamic that they had. I think what I really miss about Clone Wars being the way that it was is we've had too many of those family dynamics, being that we've had Resistance, Rebels, and Bad Batch now all doing the same thing. So like my whole hope for Star Wars is that
Arguably Mandalorian too.
100%. Yeah, Mandalorian as well, right? Like telling this extensively long story about the bonding of this creature and
just family, yeah.
yeah, it's a family thing, right? So you know, that's always nice, but what made Clone Wars so special is that it wasn't like that. And I think I just would like a new show that's kind of like that. So what you were saying about when we were watching this episode together, you said, man, this makes me miss Clone Wars so much, because we did get something new and something with different characters that nobody knew or haven't seen really as much about, or
And I feel like helps expand the universe more too.
100%. Yeah.
Get a cool arc about Jar Jar falling in love with a queen.
Oh yeah. I mean, like everyone
And then
wants
his
to watch that.
cultists.
Yeah. With Mace Windu.
Right? Dude, like who would write that? It's amazing.
Oh, it's so good.
So out of nowhere. Though, hands down, my favorite, I gotta say it because we're talking about just like random arcs that if it was, say, just about Anakin and Obi-Wan, we would never get. And that is the arc with Rex and Ponkrell. So good.
Such a great arc.
That's my favorite arc of the whole series, man. What is that?
Just gotta eat it up. Oh man.
Yeah, the Utapau arc was so brutal. Like, and I'm glad that they're starting to bring some of those characters back. Like that, the preview they got for the new video game, they show one of the Utapau warriors in it.
Oh yeah.
They did, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
That was awesome. Like you mean
It's not
Zero
Utapau.
Company? Is it?
It's
Umbaran.
Umbaran. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really cool stuff.
Oh yeah, sorry, Utapau's the other planet.
Yeah.
With the corduroy face.
No, I know. Yeah, we know what you're talking about, though. Yeah, it's a cool connection that they're kind of building up there. I would love to see how it kind of maybe works into the Clone Wars animated show. You know, that new game. That'd be
I'm still
sweet.
mostly curious about how those people all got together to form a team in the first place.
I have to. I'm itching to play it to find out. Okay, so That's this episode. It was great to see. One more thing I want to bring up here. It was great to see High Singer and Razi back. These are bounty hunters that we've seen Ventress work with before in one of my favorite Clone Wars episodes, which was a train heist involving Boba assembling a crew, and at the end, Ventress doing the right thing, by returning their target to the sort of what were originally perceived to be villains coming after the cargo on the train, and it turned out to be that it was actually a person in that box.
Oh, Boba.
And the princess of this, the sister of this family that was coming after her. And it was actually this super greedy sicko at the other end of the train line who was going to use this girl as like a slave wife or something like that, right?
Yeah, forced bride.
Yeah, crazy story. So yeah, that was one of my favorite episodes, and she instead pulls a prank on Boba, stuffs him in the box. I thought that was really funny. Anyway, but she, at the very end there, she still gets Boba his cut, right? She's like, says to him, like, oh, Boba couldn't make it, but his cut's in there too, and then she walks away. I was like, wow, she's really. Turning into quite the protagonist here.
She's slowly gaining honor.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So anyways, great to see those characters back again from that train heist. We've seen little cameos of them since in one of the Darth Maul storylines. But I guess, like you say, can't trust anyone in the underworld. I thought they would be acquaintanced friends by now with Ventress, and it turns out no one can be trusted. So
that's it.
Yeah, very good story. Okay, final episode here is called One Warrior to Another. Asajj Ventress and Lyko travel through a desert canyon low on water. They reach a homestead guarded by deactivated battle droids. Their attempt to ask for help is met with blaster fire from within. Ventress disarms the attacker, a young girl, who then allows them to meet her grandfather, an elderly man on a repulsor lift chair. The old man recognizes Ventress from the Clone Wars, addressing her as Lady Ventress, and expressing gratitude for her service to Count Dooku. He laments the Separatist loss. They learn the homesteaders struggle with water scarcity and raids. The old man asks Ventress to protect his granddaughter on a water run in exchange for her guiding them to Cypher Canyon. The granddaughter pilots a land speeder with Ventress and Lyko to a spring. After collecting water, they are ambushed by raiders on speeder bikes. Ventress and Lyko defend themselves with lightsabers during a chase, but their speeder eventually crashes. As the raiders close in, Lyko uses the Force to stop the girl from shooting and reveals that he can understand the raiders. He explains that they're stealing the raiders' water. Lyko negotiates with the raiders' leader. Back at the homestead, Ventress and Lyko convince the initially hostile grandfather, a staunch separatist angered by Lyko being a Jedi, to speak with the raiders and seek a peaceful resolution. He reluctantly agrees. A raider guides Ventress and Lyko to Cypher Canyon, where they find a starship collecting people for the hidden path. Ventress decides not to board or seek Quinlan Vos after all, telling Lyko it's his path. She bids him farewell with, "May the Force be with you." However, as she rides away, Lyko reappears, having decided to stay with her instead of joining the path. They ride off together into the desert. So, Darian, what did you think of this one?
I thought it was a pretty decent episode. It gives you more character development, but I particularly enjoyed the fact that they had Eno Cordova's voice for the Separatists. I thought that was kind of a cool contrast for that actor. The people that were a fan of Stargate SG-1 would know him as Master Greytak.
All right.
No idea.
Nice
That's
little
cool.
point out there, yeah. All right, Blake, what did you think about this
So I
one?
was waiting to get called.
I thought you were going to keep going, Darren, but is that it?
Yeah, it wasn't an overly eventful episode. Like, you kind of knew where it was going right from the beginning.
All righty. What about you, Blake?
Yeah, I kind of share that opinion, though. I thought it was really cool to see an ex-separatist and kind of get a little bit of like their take to what happened, and also just kind of see what happened to someone who was probably higher up in the separatist army after the war. Because I feel like that's something that kind of never gets brought up.
Yeah.
And to be honest, when we first saw him, just because of his model, I thought it was General Yularen.
Just like chilling in a desert.
That's why I'm like, why is he here?
Yeah.
Because he has the same mustache, like from his Clone Wars model, looks so similar to that.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah.
So I was kind of mixed on this episode. On the one hand, I really liked the old separatist kind of dynamic there with him knowing who she is, you know, and them kind of figuring out this relationship in a changed galaxy, right? And I really liked that whole aspect of it. I enjoyed the I guess Ventress kind of seeing a Jedi at work with how the Jedi do their work, you know, in their peaceful resolutions to things. With you know, a capable kid like Lyko, you know, I thought that was kind of neat. Seeing his abilities in play with understanding, being able to feel the emotions through the raiders, so to speak, and being able to communicate that to Ventress and the rest of them. I thought that was really a really nice way to kind of, it reminded me a lot of the Ezra Bridger days when he was learning from Kanan and trying to communicate with creatures and stuff like that. Do you remember those?
I do,
so,
yep.
Yeah, so it kind of brought me back to that, and I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. Like, it's neat to see this again. As far as the last little 5 minutes there, or maybe less, I wasn't very fond of the response that Ventress had to boarding the ship to get to the path. I mean, she literally sort of starts off this story with oh, Quinlan Voss, he's alive, he started the path, like he survived the purge, right? Mm-hmm. It's all these things that you start to think like, oh, well, you know, even though she's lost her heart's desires, like, of course she still loves this man, right? Like, you know, this is kind of what, you know, she died for him, right?
She came back for him too.
She came back for him too. Yeah. And she just kind of, she's like, yeah, I don't know. She's like kind of giving up.
Yeah. So she lost interest.
She's like lost interest. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like
that's pretty.
And I think like
lame.
that's the biggest consequence out of giving this, just this vague, you've lost your heart's desires reason for everything. Like I just don't understand why they did that, you know, for her.
It makes her character so bland.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Because it's like, if you think about it like a role-playing game, like when you make a character, if you have any D&D fans out there, you at least for the Star Wars FFG one, I mean, like your character, you always have some sort of objective, like a personal goal.
It's called ambition, isn't it?
Or anything, right? Like any role-playing game has some sort of when you're playing your character, you have a personal goal that's kind of separate from the main story. And this is something that helps drive your character decisions in the game, right? So she just doesn't have that anymore. And I think it really, really makes a difference when it comes down to interesting decisions being made. And I feel like this was a very non-interesting decision that she just kind of shrugs it off after all this time. And she's like, all right, see ya, kid. May the force be with you. Say hi to Quinlan for me, kind of thing. I'm out of here, right? And I was like, dude, like that was so dumb. Like I just hated that so much, because like for me it just kind of went against everything her characters kind of led up to through the Dark Disciple novel. And I know that they did say we're gonna pay home an homage to that story when we bring her back. They said that on StarWars.com like last year or something, when Bad Batch came out and she popped out of nowhere. But and they did at the beginning of the story arc, but then they let that core reason for her coming back to be the one reason that kind of just killed any creativity for this character making decisions in the future.
I just feel like they were trying so hard to make sure that it fits into the Bad Batch when we see her.
Yeah.
But now she has this kid tag along with her, so now it doesn't fit anyway.
See, like, it's different for me. Like, I keep thinking, okay, the only thing I can compare it to is Logan. Like, Logan's this guy, anti-hero kind of character. He is burned out. He is fed up with life. He is done, right? But that's because he's lived too long. He can't die. You know, he's like, gone so far and he hasn't found any love in his life. There's reasons for why he's this way, right? Whereas Ventress, she has every reason to come back. She has every motivation to step out of that water and claim life again because she loves this man who's walking away, right? So she does it. And the consequence is she's lost her heart's desire. That's basically like saying, okay, you can come back to the land of the living, but you don't care about anything. Like nothing.
It's also weird that she's just given up on trying to stop Palpatine.
And I feel like it just sucks. Like it's just a terrible character motivator because there's no motivation in it in the first place. So I don't know. I don't know what you got. Yeah, what do you think, Darian?
I feel like this arc was poorly trying to tell us that this is her trying to just be a person in the universe and not a major player. I think that's what they were trying to get at, where, you know, you can be a person, you can interact with people, but don't be this major bounty hunter. Don't be the Sith Lord. Don't be the general to the army. So that was kind of where I think they were trying to steer us, but they didn't really achieve that. I mean, the best example of it is when she's looking at the medals and stuff and kind of recoiling from the world that she's leaving behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
No, you could also argue that, like, towards the end, or I guess like just shy of the end, when they're kind of negotiating the water with the ex-separatists, like, she had to convince him that, you know, the war is over and you have to kind of let go. That's kind of also what we're seeing with her character go through.
Yeah, she's letting go. She has and is letting go of her old ways, right? And the old response would have been, you know, vengeance and let's take them out and stuff. But like I was saying, like she's becoming this hero. And, you know, it's going to lead up to the event that we see later in the Bad Batch season 3, where she assesses Omega for force potential. And at that point, I don't know where Lyko is, but it seems like maybe he's dead. Like maybe she's lost a potential apprentice or something. Like I don't really know.
That's why she's so hesitant to teach Omega.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So like that's my theory. But I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. Of course, like, you know, that may be the direction they're going, and then maybe everyone's gonna like Lyko, and then they're gonna let him live in another day, and you know, we're gonna happens
a lot, doesn't it?
And we're gonna have another Jedi running around the galaxy still. So yeah. Anyways, okay.
Well, maybe it doesn't tell us how long takes place between the scene where Boss drops her into the water and she's in that transport hub. It doesn't tell us how long there is between that. Maybe the Bad Batch story happened before she goes to the transport hub.
That's possible.
I didn't think about that.
It's certainly possible. I would just be very surprised if that was the case.
They have Laddie gunships. We saw Laddie gunships in the episode 2.
Yeah.
So it can't be too long after episode 3.
Yeah, and yeah. See, like it's definitely a possibility there, but I would be pressed to think that the time jump of when this takes place is probably kind of parallel with Bad Batch season 1, kind of like somewhere in there, and then ends also in that same time period. Like I feel like the events of her and Lyko meeting and then the story ending are like a few days, if not a week, you know, because it's only the 3rd episode that he's like, yeah, we're friends, like, right, like you know, something like that, right? Like he says on the back of the camel or whatever it is that they're riding.
Well, we could figure it out. What's the time gap between the end of Revenge of the Sith and them building the official Empire Star Destroyer fleet? Because they have to stop using Venator class, right?
That's a good. I think it's like.
So it might line up with like Jedi Fallen Order.
I think it's like 5. No, it's got to be like 3 to 4 years. Because Jedi Fallen Order is 5 years, and they're dismantling the Venator classes. But in Solo, which is 5 years after Episode 3, we do see full-on Star Destroyers already built. So
don't we see Tarkin's personal Star Destroyer at the end of Bad Batch season 2?
Oh yes, possibly. Actually, yeah, I think we did. I think you're right. We do see some Star Destroyers being properly built in that show, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe they're just repainted Venators. I forget now. It's foggy.
No, because there was a shot of Tarkin's Venator somewhere, and it's surrounded by, his Imperial class Star Destroyer, and it's surrounded by Venators, and you see how much bigger the Imperial class is than the Venators. That's why that shot stood out in my mind. I think it's at the end of Bad Batch, but I could be wrong.
No, you're probably right, because I don't recollect that from anything else. Yes.
The
Cavalry has arrived. That's the episode. I think that you're referring to. Totally. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. Yeah. So you're right. So Star Destroyers kind of exist already at the time of the Cavalry has arrived. That's.
But the only possible early one, I'm not sure if this is the case, is at the end of Revenge of the Sith when you see the Death Star being built with Vader. Is that a Imperial Star Destroyer or is that a Venator?
I'm pretty sure that's an Imperial Star Destroyer because the windows are tilted like that.
That's what I had wondered too.
So this is the season 3 finale. The Cavalry has arrived. That's the season 3 finale that we see that shot of Tarkin's ship next to the Venators. So that's kind of like 3 years ish after episode 3, roughly. Could be a little less, maybe a little more, but it's before.
They didn't completely phase out the laddies for years. Like they were using them quite long after.
Yeah, because I mean, did we see laddies in Fallen Order?
Yes, but Saul was using them at the time.
Oh yes, right. Yeah. All right. Anything else to bring up about this story arc in general, and then we can move on to Pablo Points of Poodoos.
I think that's it for me.
All right, Darian?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. These were a little bit, like, they were fun, but they were a little bit more shallow than most of what we've been getting lately.
Yeah, I
agree with that. And then it's just a shame that it's coupled with taking a character that already had a really interesting story and then just kind of cutting it off at the knees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. All right, so we're gonna move on to Pablo Points of Poodoos here. Why don't we do that, and then Blake, you can explain our rating system, our wacky rating system, to our listeners. All right, let's go.
Pablo doesn't think it's wacky.
Yeah, I don't know if Pablo's ever heard us before, but
probably not.
All right, let's go. All right, Blake, go for it. Pablo Points of Poodoos. How does it work?
Pablo Points and Poodoos. So that's the rating system we use here on Star Wars Escape Pod. Is technically a rating system of 7. So it starts at a low point of 3 Pablo Poodoos, and you work your way up 3, 2, 1 to a Bendu. That's a 0, and then you work up Pablo points from there. 1, 2, 3. 3 being the highest, the best of the best of the best.
Awesome. All right. So, given that we have 3 episodes for Ventress to talk about, and then next week we'll do the Cad Bane story arc. We're gonna do all of these separately. So, Blake, let's start with you. What would you give each of these independently? I know Andor, we kind of grouped them together, but this one we're gonna just do full independent. Yeah. So how would you do it?
It's a lot of converging opinions on here, I think, for me, because there's certain things I liked and certain things that definitely kind of bummed me out. I feel like, okay, I think I'm gonna go with maybe a half Pablo point. That's mainly just because of that intro, and then I'll give it 1 Pablo point. And then I'll go with the Bendu for the third one.
Okay, so we got a 0.5, a 1, and then a Bendu. Okay, interesting. All right, Darian, what about you? What would you give these three?
I give the first one 1 Bendu, the second one a Bendu and a half, and then the third one 0.5.
Okay, sorry. 1 Pablo point, then 1.5, and then 0.5?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, so for me, I would give the first one a 0.5. I mean, I liked what I saw for the first little minute or two, and then it kind of just went downhill for me after that. The second one, I felt like it was some good action story, you know, like everything else aside, I thought it was some good storytelling, some good action. Could have been longer in my opinion. Could have maybe had a bit more.
You could argue
of a
that for all three
rich
of
story.
these.
Yeah, totally.
Man, I'll say the one thing that really has started to bum me out, especially for Star Wars, it just seems like now that they don't have that mandatory 22 minutes to fill up or 44 minutes, they just
Yeah. It's like,
they don't spend any time like they.
it's rough.
You could argue they just cut filler, but watching shows that are only 12 minutes long is kind of annoying.
Yeah, I agree. I give the second one a 1 Pablo point. For the final one, I think I'm with you on that. I'm probably going to give it a Bendu. I think in my opinion, the Bendu is like held together only from the good things that came out of the episode. Like otherwise I'd kind of be in the Pablo Pudus if you ask me, but
Isn't that what rating is about though?
but yeah, I know. I just kind of like thinking it through as out loud here. But okay, so that leaves us with an average of 0.5 for the first episode, 1 point for the second episode, and an average of a Bendu for the third episode. So as we get more ratings coming in, maybe we can review these again next week with the team average if they update it. That is all the other podcast crew out there. If you're listening, put in your scores on the rating system spreadsheet that we got going on. And also anyone who's listening, you can see this this for yourself if you want. It's just go to starwarspodcast.ca or find the links in the description below. Just hit the podcast archives link and find the tab that's called rating system. It's a great way to just see our historical recorded ones. We've been giving Pablo Points and Pudus for quite some time now, but we only started keeping track just like a number of months ago or maybe sometime last year. So, we got scores on there for a lot of stuff now. Hopefully it builds. All right. A little bit of news here. Just house cleaning stuff, whatever the expression is. There is something broken with Apple Podcasts right now and our show. I've investigated it personally. Very weird that it's not updating as of May 3rd or something like that. We're basically up to date as of Andor episode or the second part out of 4 of our after show for Andor, but the last 2 and probably this episode as well will not be going through for some reason. So just letting you all know, if you are tuning into us from another platform like YouTube or Spotify or whatever, every other platform works just fine. So it's just an Apple issue. And I have sent in an email about it to the customer service team, and they have yet to get back to me as of a few days ago still. But hopefully they get it resolved. And hopefully we can get our new episodes on there as soon as possible for you all. But in the meantime, apologies for anyone tuning in on the Apple app of your choice. Something else is, of course, Cad Bane next week. We do have the other 3 remaining episodes of Tales of the Underworld to go through, and I found the Cad Bane storyline very interesting and lots to talk about there. So that was cool.
You enjoyed it more than
I think I did. I think I enjoyed the Cad Bane storyline like a lot more than I thought I would, actually.
Interesting. Okay.
It was a mysterious background this character's always had. I didn't think I wanted to know more about it, but now that I know more about it, I'm like, oh, that was cool. Like, it was just kind of a nice, refreshing story, and
just a fun story, fill in some blanks.
Yeah, and you know what?
Yeah.
Like, it's like the reality is, like, at some point, everyone was just every villain was probably just some innocent kid one day. Everyone. you know,
I mean, look at Darth Vader.
yeah,
3 movies dedicated to that.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's just cool to see that story unfold. All right. One last question for you all real quick is, Darian, what's something that you're looking forward to now that Andor season 2 has come to a close? What's something that you're looking forward to that might be coming out in the remainder of 2025?
That XCOM video game is definitely in 25. Sorry,
Yeah, 2025. Yeah.
Is there anything actually coming out this year? No.
That's a good question. I mean, like, I think, well, we got Visions Volume 3.
Yeah.
There's a few books and comics coming out if you keep on top of that kind of stuff. DLC maybe for Star Wars Outlaws. The remaining weeks of Star Wars Fortnite, updating each week until the middle of June. Let's see.
Sounds a little slow overall.
Yeah, it's a bit slow. Yeah.
So in
it's a bit
26
slow.
it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can go
Okay.
Zero Company. If you want to go Zero Company, we can do that. 2026.
Well, actually, right now the fandom has really revived Battlefront 2.
yeah.
There's
I've
been a
heard this.
massive. Yeah, Bombastic actually put out a call today for everyone to play this weekend to show EA that people really do want a Battlefront 3.
All right.
It's good
Very
to know.
cool. Or just just update Battlefront 2 with a few patches because there's some crazy hackers in there these days. I've seen them.
To make it
Yeah.
not as much fun to play.
It does. It
That
does.
sucks.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a great thing to mention. So thank you for that. Everyone go and play Star Wars Battlefront 2. I think by the time this episode drops, it's actually going to be, the weekend's going to be over, but you know, carry it forward, you know, just like, let's keep the momentum of the weekend going. Hop on Star Wars Battlefront 2 tonight being Monday, and you know, just play through it, and you know, just ignore all the hackers out there. Just, you know,
Just push through.
stop the match, just push through it, start a new match. I don't know, just get your friends on there, get the servers active. Also, one more thing, there's a third party out there called, I think it's called Kyber Battlefront. Just look up Kyber Battlefront 2, and it's a third party group of people that are creating their own like matchmaking platform system, and they're also leaving it open for mods as well. And the mods are insanely cool. Like, some of them are really, really great content. So they've done the work to patch up the game and make it even better.
Oh, nice.
And give it new life. So yeah, they're still working on new updates and new things like that. It's not fully publicly released, but they're taking Patreons and stuff like that. So I'm not actually, you know, a member of that. I'm kind of aware of it. So just a heads up for anyone playing on PC.
Cool.
What is something that you're looking forward to, Blake?
I don't remember the name, but the thing I'm most looking forward to, and I'm pretty sure it's this year, is that spin-off series from the previous Visions.
Oh, Vision Presents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vision presents the Ninth Jedi.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm really looking forward to that,
Yeah.
because that Ninth Jedi episode of Visions is one of the coolest Star Wars storylines I've seen in a really long time.
At the very least, it is getting a continuation in Volume 3. So Ninth Jedi is getting a sequel episode in Volume 3. And then there's a Presents feature length or a spin-off series that'll come after that.
Yeah, it's
So-
a limited series, I think.
Yeah.
right? It's not going to be an ongoing thing.
Yeah, limited series, but
Yeah.
still, it's a continuation from the next chapter, which happens in Volume 3. So you're looking forward to Volume 3 and then the continuation after that.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Just specifically that storyline. 'Cause it was
Yeah.
I might rewatch it, the original again soon here, because I remember just being blown away by it. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
It's been a while since I've been like really inspired by something.
Right. All right. Well, thank you both for coming on. May the Force be with you.
Good to be here as always.
I have spoken.
All right. May the Force be with you guys. Thanks for tuning in. You know the ways to reach us, and we'll see you in the next one.